Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Come in, come in, come in. This is Tamika's Den. I am Tamika. Come on in here, y'all. Okay, let's get comfortable. We are talking BelAir, all right? And this is a recap review for BelAir. Can't Knock the Hustle, all right? Season 1, episode 9. So we started out this episode, y'all, with Will getting ready, okay? They are supposed to be going to church, and Jeffrey comes in the room and he asks him, to help him with his tie. And then he's asking him, is there any news on my dad so far? And Jeffrey essentially tells him, still working on that, okay? But today, all you need to worry about is, your Uncle Phil, okay? He needs the whole family today, he needs everybody on board. That is the most important thing. And so, of course, Will tells him, okay, you have Ashley skeptical about this church, okay? Asking her mama questions about it. And she's like, girl, you was baptized in this church, okay? It's one of the oldest black churches around. And, they basically have been with them for a long time and things of that nature. And so, Uncle Phil is telling Carlton, oh, I can't believe I'm going to have to come up after you. That makes me a little nervous. I'm going to be coming up after your solo. And Carlton basically says, well, Dad, I'm going to try not to, make it too hard for you, all right? I'm not going to step on your toes. And so Will is like, wait a minute, solo? He was like, Carlton is singing. So Phil tells him, like, yeah, you ain't know your cousin has an amazing voice. And I'm like, oh, okay, Carlton, be singing up in the church, get it? And so, you know, they waiting on Hillary, and of course Aunt Viv says that Hillary is always late, that this is no shocker. And Phil says, well, Reverend Lamont wants to showcase this big happy family, so we need y'all to be happy, okay? And so Phil basically, once Hillary gets there, everybody's looking good, okay? Everybody's looking sharp. They looking like this is Easter Sunday, and they got their little church hats on. Ashley got her little church bow on her head, and they was looking really cute. And so when he turns around and sees them all standing behind him, he says that just looking at them is a reminder to him of how blessed he is, all right? And so, we'll ask Carton, what kind of singer he is. And he's basically like, I don't know, I just kind of have my own style. And Will is like, yeah, but I mean, when you think about Boys to Men, like, which one, would you fit in? Which one would you be if it was a Boys to Men or whatever the case may be? And Carton is just like, okay, whatever. You got Ashley asking the pastor about the LGBTQ community and, what the relationship is that they have with the church. And so he's like, we are still a work in progress. There's some things that we've done, and, there's more that they have to come, all right? And so, you got Hillary bumping into a friend that apparently she hasn't seen in a long time. That's like, oh, Hillary, girl, you done grown up, okay? And Hillary is saying to her, wow, I remember you taught me how to use, eyeliner in the bathroom. And, the girl is saying to her, yeah, and you was a quick learner. And so they talk about how both of them are influencers. She's saying to the girl, wow, I've been checking you. You got over 10 million followers, okay? And the girl is saying to her 10.2, but who's counting, all right? And so, she tells Hillary she's been seeing her too, and she likes some of her stuff. And Hillary is like, wow, really? Okay. She was like, well, maybe we could collab on something one day. And it looked like the girl was about to give her a little, like, yeah, girl, I like you, but I may not want to collab with you type of thing. She just gave a look, but they got interrupted, so she never really got to, give Hillary an answer on it. But I found that to be interesting. But they say that they are going to catch back up with each other later. You have Carton and Will where he stops him, again in the aisles and just wants to talk to him for a minute. And he's kind of asking Carton advice like, there's a part of me that wants to find where my father is. And there's another part of me that's kind of like, I'm not too sure. I really don't know what to do. Because this seems like something that would, have an effect on, everybody. Like, they really don't want me to know about him. He could tell that, his mom wasn't completely forthright about the situation to begin with when he was asking her. And Carton was like, I may not be the best person, to ask about this. I really don't know what to tell you. But he was like, being as though we're in the church, I guess maybe pray on it and see if you can find a sign, see how you feel about it after that type of thing. And so Will is like, okay, they go ahead and he has to go in the back because he has to prepare for, this solo that he's supposed to be doing. And so, you have the pastor up there giving a sermon and saying how, you know, what was he saying? He was saying that, choosing the one that loves you back is important, and what you have to give to the community and stuff like that, because at first some of the stuff he was saying, Phil and Vivian was looking at each other like, okay, he gonna taking it there and being a little extra today, we see. All right, but he ended it off talking about choosing the one that you love. And so then they were saying how, apparently Carlton used to be there all the time singing, but they hadn't seen him in a while. So they were saying how good, it was to have him back, how they was looking forward to him, and this was going to be such a treat. All right. And so Carlton gets up there, and he wasn't sounding bad, okay, when he first started on. And he was singing my song, all right. He saw the best in me. Ah, okay, go Carlton. But he has a panic attack up there, right? Starts getting a little bit of anxiety going on, and they took it as it just being nerves, and he was basically like, I gotta get off of here. And you see Viv going to check on him, and you hear the pastor in the background like, yeah, somebody check on him, that's unfortunate. So they say they're gonna go ahead and move on. All right. And when they get back home, Ashley is basically asking Aunt Viv as she comes in, is everything okay? Is Carlton okay? And then she says, yeah, he's fine. And she was like, are you sure? Because I know you guys be keeping things from me. And Aunt Viv was basically like, well, why would you think, we're keeping something from you? And she was like, come on, Mom, I know that you guys, sometimes keep things from me because you think that's what's best for me, okay? And so Viv tells Ashley that she noticed that she went from champion climate change to really speaking a lot more about the LGBTQ community. And she's just checking on her to see what's going on, what's happening with her now. And Ashley says, civil rights and climate change are both vital issues, and she hasn't traded one for the other. She actually just finds all of them important, okay? And Viv is like, yeah, I hear you, okay, that's understandable. And, Ashley basically was like, why aren't all human rights of any social group, everyone's concerned? And again, Aunt Viv is agreeing with her. And Aunt Viv says, of course it is. That's why your father and I donate to marriage and equality. And Ashley says that's commendable, but you got to be doing more than that, okay? And basically, Aunt Viv says to her, at the end of the day, I just want you to know that I'm here for you, that you can feel free to talk to me about any and everything, okay? And know that, you can always come to me about anything that's happening with you. I care about it. I'm interested in it. And Ashley is just like, okay, Mom. And then, Viv is standing there for a minute, and she's like, okay, I guess that's pretty much the end of that conversation. But I love the fact that they had this conversation. I love the fact that amongst all the stuff that's going on, Viv is paying attention. She does notice this change in Ashley, which a lot of parents wouldn't, or if they did, they probably wouldn't acknowledge it and actually go and have a conversation with their child about it. So I definitely love that they put that in there, because that is so freaking important. And she just was telling her, I don't care what it is, whatever's on your mind, I am here. And, like I said, Ashley says thanks, and she was like, good. And Ashley just kind of went back to texting on her phone or looking on social media, whatever she was doing. And then, Viv is like, okay, see you later. Like, I guess that's the end of that discussion. But I appreciate the fact that she did try, okay? Looks like Ashley's not ready to talk about it much more than that. And so, you have Hillary and Will was talking, and she was like, I don't understand that with Carlton. She was like, he actually sings really good, and usually his nerves doesn't get him like that, but maybe it's because it's been such a long time. And Will is like, you think it was just his nerves? And Hillary's kind of like, yeah, what else would it be? And he was like, seriously? Like, y'all don't know what's going on around here? And she was like, what do you know, cuz? And he was like, nothing. She was like, come on, spill it. And she was basically making him chicken and waffles, okay? And so he was like, well, he likes to party, all right? And she was like, of course, everybody likes to party. This is BelAir. He's like, no, I mean party, the hard stuff, okay? He was like, she was like, Carlton? He was like, yeah, Coke, Xanax, So she was like, what? And she was like, how bad is it? And he was like, I've seen it get pretty scary. He was like, you really didn't know about this? She's like, no. She was like, I guess I wasn't paying attention. She was like, okay, this is bad, okay? And so she was like, okay, well, you need to talk to him. And he was like, I don't know if I'm the person to talk to him. She was like, look, sometimes, checking on family, even when they don't want you to, is what you need to do. And so, he was like, well, why you don't talk to him? She was like, well, I haven't seen it, so it's going to come off different coming from me. And that's a valid point. And she was like, besides, you seem to be getting along a lot better now, right? And he was like, yeah, we are getting along a lot better, but I don't know if me going to talk to him is gonna make it any better type of thing. But he was like, yeah, we actually are. And so he was like, okay, I'm gonna talk to him, but he ready to get into that chicken, and I ain't mad at him about that, all right. But when he go to take a bite, she looking at him like, and he was like, what you mean right this minute? And she was like, yeah, I'll keep your plate for you, like run along, all right. And so we see when he goes to go upstairs to talk to Carton, that she calls up somebody, I believe it was Jazz. Okay, she was asking them, are they busy? Can they come around? And are they free right now? And so Will goes up, and Carlton is basically sitting in his room playing some card game or whatever. And he's looking, and he comes in, and he's like, see, you all right? And so Carlton is like, yeah, I'm all right. I'm fine. He's like, are you sure? He was like, what do you want, Will? And he was like, honestly, I just want to know how you doing. What happened up there? And so, Carlton was like, I didn't eat anything this morning. The church was hot. I felt dizzy. And then, Will is like, okay. And he was like happy. And he's just like, okay, whatever. So he was like, don't give me okay. What are you getting at, Will? And, and Will is like, listen, the last time you had stage fright was when it was supposed to be you reading the poem with Lisa, and you was doing coke in your closet instead. So today, if you was nervous, and, Carlton basically cuts him off and was like, listen, you don't know shit, all right? I wasn't nervous. I suffer from anxiety. Okay, this was another conversation that I really loved, because I get anxiety myself. Is not no joke. I don't do no damn Xanax and coke now to make it better, but I love that they are covering all of these topics. And so he was like, the sad part is I get anxiety just telling people that I have anxiety. Okay, it's a buildup. It gets louder and louder, and it keeps going. And he was like, I use the drugs to cope with it. All right. And I loved that he was able to tell Will this. And so he basically was saying, it gets really hard for him. All right. And he was like, it's funny because I didn't even use them today. And so, they just basically was both quiet for a minute. He was like, I probably should have. Okay, maybe I would have performed better. And he says, he struggles with just, and he saw all the red flags in his dad. He saw that his dad was so excited to see him sing, and he wants his dad to be proud of him, the grades, the sports. And Carlton was like, listen, don't get it twisted. Your dad thinks the world of you. He was like, and if you need me, I'm there whenever. However, okay, and you struggling, let me know. Okay, come to me. If you think you need to use them drugs, look at me. Okay, let me know. There's no judgment. And he was like, that shit is too heavy for you. If you can't carry it, I'm here to carry the load with you. All right. And so Carlton was like, I really appreciate you saying that. Okay, that meant the world to him. And so I was like, oh, they bonding, so sweet. And I love that Will it just cares about everybody, right? He has such a big heart, even when they kind of being a-holes to him a little bit, right? And so Carlton tells him he thinks he just wants to be alone right now. And so Will is like, all right, but don't forget what I said. And he go ahead and leave him there. So we see that it was Hillary that Jazz called. Okay, she's trying to sneak up in this house and make sure that nobody is there. She wants his help. She wants him to be a lookout in order for her to get her stuff back. I'm like, Lord Hillary, I hope you're not making a bigger mess by doing this. And he basically asked her, like, why don't you just ask your dad for the money? That way this is all over with. It's taken care of. You get your stuff back, and you pay them what you gotta pay them and call it a day. And she says that she really wants to do this on her own, okay? And he was like, oh, on your own? She was like, well, yeah, I mean, you're here helping me, but you get what I mean. And then, she also asked him to, can he climb up and get her sign that's up on the wall? And he's like, okay, sure, no problem, and he was singing that he would beat, Caro's behind if he was there. And she was like, okay, I don't need all of that, but I do appreciate the sentiment. And so I'm loving that Jazz and Hillary is, on a good page, and I'm loving they vibe together, okay? I am here for it all the way. And so, when he gets down with the sign, like I said, he was telling her that, it could all be over with if she just asked for her dad's help. But Hillary say, no, I'm gonna do this for me. And so, she's like, don't tell nobody though, okay? And she was like, I do owe you one. And he was like, well, then in that case, all right, you could come on and go back with me to my crib. And I'm not a cook like you are, but I could go ahead and show you my cooking skills, girl. And so she was like, well, that would be cute. Or she was like, I'm staying in a bungalow, at a 5-star hotel. And we could go there and order room service. So Jazz is like, yeah, I mean, he don't give a damn. Come to his place, go to your place, go to your hotel. He is here for it, all right? And so basically, they go ahead and get her stuff and they getting out the way. And so you have Will, in his room playing basketball. Jeffrey comes in, of course, he's like, yo, what's up, G? And he's like, hey, and he's like, this is a comprehensive report on your father, all right? Basically gives him the envelope. It's still shut. It's up to him whether he wants to open it or not. He asked him if he's alive. He said, yes, he is. He asked him if he's read it. He said, yes, he did. He was like, should I read it? Okay. He said, well, that's up to you. I can't tell you that. That is completely your choice. But I will tell you that what is in it will not only affect, you and your dad, but it will affect the entire family. And again, I am asking, what the hell is it? What do they know? What is going on with Will's dad? What the hell did he do? What is the truth? Okay. I guess maybe we gonna find out next week. But honey, he basically let him know that, all right? And the rest is on him as to whether he want to go ahead and open this up or not and find out everything that he want to know about his dad. And so that's kind of heavy load for him to, figure out. We then have, Phil with his campaign manager in the office. You got Jeffrey sitting there. And they're talking about the whole fact that Wilkes was cheating on his dying wife while she had lupus. Okay, they found pictures of them together, him and old girl that was trying to get cute at the party that's pregnant, and they're like, we could put this out there and put it on blast. And so, and it would be game over, and we had a feeling that was going to come up, right? No shocker there. And so that would make him the winner of the debate and all of this kind of stuff. Jeffrey is just sitting there. And so Phil tells him, you're awfully quiet, any input on this? And he was like, well, 2 black men on stage tearing each other down. They'll eat that right up. They'll love it. Okay. And he was saying it feels too personal. Of course, his campaign manager is like, listen, all bets is off. You could do anything, come at whichever way you have to. This is politics. All right. And so, again, Phil says, Jeffrey, if you're going to keep looking at me like that, speak your mind. And Jeffrey basically says to him, you want this badder than you've ever wanted anything, right? And he was like, and he says, so just be honest about it. Take your position that you want to, be in to win and do it. He said, you think I'm pretending to be uncomfortable? He was like, no, not pretending outright, but you just prefer to be told, or talked into doing things that cross the line instead of making the choice for yourself. And I think, and then the guy, the Phil, the freaking campaign manager's like, I think I stepped into the wrong room. This was supposed to be about the campaign, and I'm feeling like we in a damn therapy session right now, okay? And then Jeffrey says, apologies, I think I said more than I should have. And I do love the fact that Jeffrey is not just a yes man, okay? If you ask him his opinion, he gonna tell you the truth. And he gonna speak it right out. And other than that, if you don't want to hear it, he like, listen, I'm over here. I got my damn job to do. And that's that. But he's not kissing nobody behind. And he's not going to just tell them what they want to hear for the sake of hearing it. I do love that about Jeffrey, all right? And so, of course, we know that it's going to become an issue at the fact that he didn't listen to Phil about, Will's dad. And so, of course, ever since that conversation, Jeffrey has been rubbed the wrong way anyway. And so, the campaign manager is saying, look, we can't play nice. We got to go in and go at it. That's the only way for you to win. That's just not going to cut it. That's not what's going to win this whole debate. And so Phil is like, okay, you two gave me a lot to think about, and let's go ahead and just, give me some of these campaign questions and let's get into that. And so, campaign manager's like, all right, ask him some debate questions. And he's like, that's what I'm talking about. And he was like, can we put the tea and crumpets away and talk politics, basically trying to throw shade at Jeffrey. And I'm like, sit your behind down with that, okay? So then we got Viv coming into this interview for the fellowship, and we got, well, not the original Don Donna Viv, but the second Viv that is from the, original Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and also the original Vi that was Will Moms on the show. So that was cute. And they are sitting there like, girl, you wasn't expecting us, huh? And they were like, yeah. She was like, no, I wasn't, because I'm used to it being white men sitting in those chairs. And they said, yeah, and I'm sure that it's usually 25-year-olds that's sitting in yours. But come on in, okay, and talk to us, all right? Have a seat. And so Viv comes in, and she's singing, she could see that a lot of things have changed in the art world since, she was in there. And they say, yeah, and some people will call that progress. And she was like, indeed. So they told her, shall we can, begin. And so they basically was like, tell, us about why you deserve this fellowship. And she was like, well, here are my paintings, they here to capture beauty and strength, not the ordinary black folk poetry. I don't typically have, subjects posed. She's like, instead I try to depict them as they are. And they like, okay, well, we know all of that, get into more about what we would like to know today is why did you stop painting for so long? And, Viv essentially starts to tell them, like, I know I'm supposed to just be like, oh, because of my family, or because of the demands of motherhood and marriage. But she was like, to be honest, that she swept her paintbrush out her hand because, she got tired of all the battles, right? And she starts to go on this whole long speech about what she faced as a black female artist, painting alone, and painting was the easy part, but then you would, because that's a natural gift from God, but then you would go when the paint dries and you would have to explain who you are and, why you doing it and what you doing it for to all these men. And, you would have to fight to get into an exhibit, and you would have to fight to be noticed, and you would have to fight for this and fight for that. And she was tired of the twists and turns and whatever was popular on the, scene. And then you had to fight even harder to get your work to be sold. And so the two ladies was kind of looking like, okay, girl, like, so what the hell that brought you back if you felt like you couldn't fight for all this stuff? They was looking like they was getting a little discouraged there for a minute. But Viv pulls it around and was like, to be honest, my nephew came to stay with us, and he has really changed my life since he came. She was like, he is just so bright and so free and so motivated and, unapologetically himself, and he goes, with life head on. And she was like, thinking, I used to be like that, and I could be like that again. I realized I can still be like that, And she was like, that's been my motivation. And so she was like, it just made me realize that I want to create again. And when she starts talking about that, they start smiling and lighting up like, yeah, okay, now we getting somewhere. And so she was like, so now her perspective now after all of these years is that, her work can resonate in the world. She could be out here. She could, define her own self on her own terms, not on anyone else's terms, okay? And so she just wants to work and wants to be able to shine. And they definitely loved hearing that from her. And so she was like, listen, we don't need to hear nothing else. We already had our mind made up before you even came in here. But by you coming in and seeing what you just said, that makes us even more interested, and we do want to offer you the fellowship internship. And so this, of course, has, on Viv like, what? And they are like, yes. They say that these answers just reinforce their decision, and they want to make it official, but they do want to have her take 24 hours to think about it and what demands accepting the fellowship means. And so Viv is like, what demands? What do you mean? They was like, travel engagements, speaking engagements, press. It's a lot, but you got to be willing to accept all of that. These is the, expected requirements. And so, like I said, take 24 hours to think about it and let us know your decision, okay? So, Viv is getting her second chance here, all right? And so, you have, Phil on the phone, and Will comes in, and then he's getting on the, when he gets off the phone, you see that Will is standing there with the papers that Jeffrey brought to him. So, I'm like, oh, Lord. So Will basically tells him, like, I had Jeffrey look into my dad because, Phil was asking him what's wrong. And he was like, he did find some stuff on him. He brought this to me, but I haven't opened it. I changed my mind. I don't even want to know anything about my dad. At the end of the day, you have been more of a father to me than anybody ever has been. And of course, he's getting a little emotional and teary-eyed. And he always reminds me of, the Will Smith. When he gets teary-eyed, he definitely does have his mannerisms down pat. And, that was a little bit emotional. And Phil basically hugs him and tells him, well, you like a son to me and I'm very proud of you or whatever have you. But of course, he's not, and we'll know this, but he's pissed off because we all know that he wanted Jeffrey to just take care of him. Of course, now this is going to make him feel that Jeffrey went behind his back and, gave Will information anyway. And I'm sure he's kind of relieved that Will doesn't even want to see what the information is that Jeffrey did get. And so, you have Will at the piano playing the piano, and Carlton comes and was like, hey, what's going on? And he was like, well, you know what I was talking to you about at the church? I basically decided that I don't want to find him. Carlton is basically like, okay, so he says he doesn't want to find him because he's happy, he's satisfied with how things is going, and he don't feel like he should drudge up any other things. And Carlton is like, well, that music you was playing is supposed to be happy. I hate to see what sad is. And he was like, well, no, that's how I basically feel when I'm thinking about my dad. And so Carlton tells Will that he actually did stop him from using today. He says that he flushed the drugs down the toilet. So I'm like, okay, go Carlton. That's a nice step in the right direction. Hopefully he can hang in there with that, okay? And so, you have Will telling Carlton, like, did you hear from Lisa? I've been trying to call her. She hasn't been answering. He's like, no, don't worry about it. He was like, I haven't been speaking to her as much lately with her dad running against my dad. He's asking Will, that's not a problem for you. And he like, oh, no, we don't let, stuff like that get in the way. And he tells him, well, more than likely her phone just died. No biggie. Don't worry about it. But, of course, we see Lisa and her dad after that. And Lisa and her dad are arguing. He's still trying to get her to stay the hell away from Will. Of course, he knows that she still was around him from the whole thing of the party. And, of course, he wants to prove his point and make Will out to be the worst person in the world. So he finally shows her, because she was like, you keep saying this, but what is there really that is so bad about Will? So he shows her Will's mugshot and the information that he apparently got sent to him by Judge Robinson, okay? And the fact that Uncle Phil had helped Will out of the situation. And she's like, oh, you're just jumping to conclusions and you're going to believe something that could just be a rumor that may not even be true. He says, well, go ahead, ask him about it. And, if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong, okay? See if I'm telling the truth. But if I'm right, then hopefully you are going to stay away from him after this. And Wilkes, you are trash. You are trash for cheating on your dying wife, number one. You are trash because your damn daughter has been struggling this whole damn time and you have never once made a damn effort to try to help her or make her feel any more included or any of that kind of stuff. And you are trash for purposely showing this to her just to hurt her and so that you could try to use this in the damn campaign against against Phil, okay? Trash, 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 all right? So next, anyway, moving on from him, you have, of course, Phil and Jeffrey finally talk because he comes into the office and he's like, oh, what's that thing? And he was like, the envelope that you gave to Will. And apparently Will is saying, that he don't want to find his father. He is okay without him. And Jeffrey is basically like, oh, well, that's probably because you didn't want him to find out about him anyway. You could have opened it up and read it with him and just basically came out and told him the truth if you really wanted to. Of course, you are still looking out for your own best self-interest because that's what you feel that he should be doing. And Jeffrey, Phil is basically pissed like, didn't I tell you to leave this alone? Didn't I tell you to go ahead and take care of him? You literally went against everything that I said. You think you know better than me. And then he throws it in Jeffrey's face like, oh, you're just feeling this way because you are away from your son or because you don't have your son. And that was a real low blow, Uncle Phil, okay? I'm not feeling you coming at Jeffrey the way you coming at him, honey. And I definitely was not feeling you last week when you hit him in that damn mid or hard, okay? You need to bring it back down, Phil, all right? Bring it back down. And so anyway, Jeffrey is basically telling him, you got a lot of mess with you. Your family is all over the daggone place. And he's like, oh, well, why don't you, tell me more? Or, I know you want to break it down. Go ahead, say it, spit it out. And again, I love the fact that Jeffrey is not a yes man, okay? He is going to tell you like it is. He is going to speak the truth. He started talking about how, Viv was feeling neglected, the struggles that Carlton is having. And, he's like, oh, your daughter. And before he could even finish, he like, don't go there, watch what you saying. And he also tells him, with you, the post keeps moving. You get to one achievement. I've been with you since the beginning. I've seen the things that you fight for and what you really want. And I've seen all the accomplishments that you've been able to make. And as time goes on, that's never enough for you. You always trying to get to the next thing. And he was like, well, what's wrong with that? That's basically how, I was able to get the achievements that I wanted, and I was able to provide for my family. And so, of course, they're not going to just see this the same way. All right. He has his beliefs and Jeffrey has his. And he was telling him, like, now you starting to get a little crazy. You starting to get out of hand. You starting to be doing too much. All right. He was just calling him out on it. He was like, ever since you getting into this, you getting dirtier and dirtier, and it seems like you don't have no limit to what you will do. All right. And he was like, I already told you I wasn't comfortable with the task. And then, Phil is telling him all of a sudden you worried about what's right and what's wrong, and you think you know better. And, at the end of the day, Phil is also bringing up again, you work for me. How did you forget that? And, Jeffrey tells him, look, let's not play no games, okay? We could play it for everybody else, but when it comes to us, that I'm here to protect your family. That is my real job, okay? Not the job they think I'm here, but the real one that I be doing. And so he was like, oh, you mean protect my family from me? And he was like, no, protect your family from your ambitions, because they starting to get a little crazy, brother, all right? And he was like, like I said, you've been going further and further. And so, like I said, Phil tells him the only reason you siding with Lou is because you feel guilty about leaving your boy behind. And that was a low blow, Phil. Okay, you was doing too much with that. And then him and, Jeffrey looking eye to eye like they ready to get into it. And then Jeffrey turns back and he was like, listen, okay, tell you what, I watched you attain every dream you wanted, okay? And the finish line just keeps on moving. And then, like I said, Phil says that's how his family gets paid. And he was like, and that's how you get paid. And because I, am your employee, you think that I'm supposed to, not care about you and your family, and I'm just supposed to keep my mouth shut. He said that I can't do. I can't keep my mouth shut, okay? Like I said, I can't sit here and play like everything you doing is all right, even if it's my job. And so Phil is telling him by all means. And so he tells him, your wife's dreams is underneath yours. Your son doesn't even get a chance to dream, because he's an extension of yours, your daughter. And like I said, that's when Phil is like, hey, you treading in dangerous territory. You already treaded there, And he says, all right, Fred Wilkes got some stuff with him. He's a flawed man, but he's a good man. And when push comes to shove, you'll do whatever it takes to make the, even at the expense of the people that love you, okay? You tripping, all right? And so basically Phil, didn't want to hear the truth. He don't like the truth. The truth hurts. And so he says to Jeffrey, you are fired, okay? And I was like, Dad, and I really wanted, he said he couldn't trust him anymore. And I really wanted Jeffrey to go ahead and pull that resignation letter out that he had and throw that on the desk and say, boy, I was already going to quit. Okay, you a little too late. But instead, Jeffrey says, that's not going to look right with you fire me, all right? It's not going to be a good look for you at all. It's going to raise far too many questions. So he says, so that you don't have to answer any questions, why don't we just say that I basically took an immediate leave of absence. I had a personal family matter. And then, Phil agrees. He's like, okay, a family emergency with extended delay. And he was like, right. And so they do hug, and they both kind of have like tears in their eyes. Like initially, Phil had put out his hand to shake his hand, but Jeffrey pulls him in and he says, prove me wrong, Phil, because if you don't, your family is going to split under the pressure, okay? And I loved it. Okay? Sometimes you got to get real and you got to tell people stuff they don't want to hear, right? That's just what it is. And so Jeffrey goes ahead about his business. So you have Phil go in and tell Viv that, he could go ahead and call Will's mom and let her know that he doesn't want to know about his dad. She's like, but what brung that on? What's the sudden change and how do you know that? And are you sure? And all of that kind of stuff, And then he also, talks to her about the fellowship, and that she should take it. And she was like, well, I don't know, will we still be able to make it? Could we get through this with you burning for DA? And then what's this with Jeffrey being gone? All of a sudden he had a family emergency. That's when we really need him now, with the extra help with the kids. And Phyllis saying, I can handle the kids, don't worry about it. She's like, are you sure? I don't think so. That would be too much on you with you running for DA. And he's like, what do you mean? Of course I can handle it. And so of course you have her having second thoughts about the fellowship. She actually calls and says, no, I don't think I'm gonna be able to do this. And the lady was like, look, we tell y'all that y'all have 24 hours for a reason. I'm not going to take a no from you right now. Think about it some more, okay? And call me tomorrow when I originally told you to, okay? Because Viv was about to have a breakdown on that damn phone, telling her all the reasons why she couldn't take it. And so then you had, Lisa come over and confront Will. I really didn't care about this, to be honest with y'all, because I don't feel like Will owes this chick anything, but I get it. She's mad. She comes to curse him out about it and to tell him, show him the mugshot and be like, is this true? Is this you? Oh, so you lied to me. They're asking her how, she found out about it. He's apologizing. He's saying, can I talk to you for a minute? He finally does tell her the truth about the situation, and she lets him know, well, my father knows about this now, okay, and he's going to use it against your Uncle Phil. He's telling her to stop it. She's saying, it's nothing I can do to stop it. I'm sorry. And they just kind of hug, and then she walks away. So, of course, you got Carlton and Phil running to try to tell Uncle Phil about, Wilkes knowing. The guy won't let them in at first. He's saying nobody could come from back here. He's like, oh, well, call him if he's your father. They're like, we already was trying to call, and we not getting no answer. Okay, this is an emergency. That's why we coming up through here, right? Start playing games. And they start yelling. And his campaign advisor opens the door and was like, what's going on? He was like, yeah, they are with us. Like, what's happening? They tell him it's a family emergency. And so they go in and let Phil know, you need to withdraw from the race, okay? Wilkes knows about it, and he's going to try to use it against you. Will is basically apologizing to Uncle Phil, and Uncle Phil tells him he doesn't have to apologize, okay? He doesn't regret not one thing. And so basically I'm like, okay, what Phil gonna do? All right, is he gonna withdraw from this race, or is he gonna go out there and spill the tea on his own self first before Wilkes can do it and tell Wilkes a little secret? All right. So when Phil gets out there, he talks about, when he got into this race, it was about his family and putting his family first and doing what's best for his family. And he's not always perfect with it, and he doesn't always do it the best way all the time. But that is really what is most important to him. And he says, now thinking about his family, what he really feel like he should do is withdraw from the race to be district attorney. And of course, everybody is shocked and looking, and he tells, Wilkes that he will has his full support, and that anybody that was going to vote for him should go ahead and vote for Wilkes. I don't know about all that, Phil, but okay, And, when he walks over to Aunt Viv, she's like, oh my God, Phil, like, what is going on? Why did you do that? And Phil tells her, promise me that you're going to take that fellowship. And she's like, what? No, I don't know. And he was like, promise me. And she was like, I promise. So it looks like Viv is going out here to do her fellowship, okay? And Phil gonna be at home, all right? And listen, family first. I was here for it. This was a good episode. Y'all tell me what y'all thought about the episode, what y'all thought about this season so far. I personally have loved it, and I'm looking forward to more. All right, put everything in the comments. Let's discuss. Okay, like, share, subscribe. Till next time, toodaloo.